Hello everyone. This is Vishal Singhal, co-founder for CS-SmartKids, and today we have Mr. Manish Anand, one of our students' parent. And here we believe we are creating AI superstar kids. And today he's going to share with us his opinion about the program. So over to you, Manish.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you for having me. So a little bit of about myself and my son, Dhruv. Both my wife and I are IT professionals. We work in the space of data engineering and data science itself. So we have some background into machine learning, reinforcement learning, and the likes. Son, Dhruv, is in the 8th grade. He's 13 years old, and he studies at Akya ITPL Bangalore.
Since you are with IBM already, so what made you choose our Smart Kids program? Why not teach your kid yourself, or what made you choose our program?
That's a good one. So Vivek Singhal, who's one of the co-founders of Smart Kids, happens to be a colleague of mine, a good friend, and that's how I know some of the work that you guys have been doing. But when it comes to a child's education, I'm sure knowing a friend is not going to come in the way of choosing the right teacher. So, of course, I got to know about some of the work that you guys are doing, but we even prior been looking at multiple options of schools and other, other online platforms that have been talking about teaching students on coding, machine learning, and the likes. And the one thing I liked about what you guys were doing is, of course, your precedent, right? So before you guys had done anything associated with kids, you already had a learning labs for adults running. You had a lot of work happening with respect to creating assets for different industry verticals and so on. And that's what I knew about. So even during the early parts of when Smart Kids was launched, we were discussing, and I found it very interesting as to as to what Vishal, you and Vivek, your brothers' thoughts were around what you wanted to do with kids learning machine learning. I found that very interesting, and that's how we ended up starting this journey. And if I recall right, I took a short 1 month or 3 months course with Smart Kids, and then we renewed it to a whole year when we are looking at it last. So
Great.
that was the journey overall.
Sure. Thank you. Uh, so what change do you see CS Smart Kids program has brought in your confidence over our program, or Dhruv's confidence over himself?
Interesting one. So just like any parent, we want to make sure that our kid is getting the good, the best of what you have to offer. When it started, Dhruv's understanding of machine learning was more about what is artificial intelligence, right? He'd have seen certain things in movies, you'd have heard certain things being talked about on newsprint, and that's what machine learning was to him, something magical that could do anything and everything. Right? We wanted to change that perception that Dhruv had, and that would require, just like learning how to cycle, actually trying things out, understanding the capabilities and then limitations of the technology. Right? So that's how the journey started. We're very happy to report today that with 6+ months that he's put in your course, he's able to distinguish between fact and fiction. Right? What he sees in Terminator and in the likes of those kind of science fiction movies, he now understands what is it that machine learning can do, knowing today's technology and research, and what is just fiction. Right? He has done hands-on and applied it in several areas, and I could possibly talk about a couple of things that he's picked up during the course, especially the capstone project that he done, which was around taking. I'm just trying to recall what was his capstone project. So he came up with this problem himself, and this was about feels like temperature, right? So of course, the temperature might be 30 degrees, but based on the humidity, the wind conditions, and so on, it might feel warmer or colder. And he wanted to use machine learning to be able to, given the thermometer temperature, guess the feels like temperature. right? That was the problem that he had. Of course, we know there are formulae doing that today, and the data that has been derived as feel like is actually based on a formula. So it's independent variable being temperature and the dependent variable being feels like temperature, and they're connected through a formula. So that might not be the best application of it. Machine learning, right? You're trying to predict a dependent variable. It's been calculated that way. But what I liked about this is instead of you coming up with challenging the problem, the child is learning on the job and he'll eventually know how machine learning works around those things, right? So he picked up a problem on his own. You and your team helped him learn and apply it. And then he presented that problem solution, right? And in doing so, he's going to learn a lot of things which are experiential, just like learning how to ride a cycle, versus coming up with hello world programs that are hard defined, and the child ends up running with guardrails. That's not what we want. So in a nutshell, I know I think I've gone in too much of detail for this kind of a discussion, but in a nutshell, we want the primitives taught to the child, and then a lot of exploration happen in a classroom environment that supports multiple children coming together, discussing things, and then making their own understanding stronger on any subject. And that's exactly what you guys are doing, and we really love the format that you guys have used.
So my next question would be, how do you think when Dhruv was not doing programming versus now he's doing programming, how has that made a change to his thought process?
So programming is nothing but a set of well-defined steps that are something as dumb as a computer, which is nothing but a mathematical device and logical device that is able to execute to your commands, right, is able to do. So with that, it requires us to be very structured in our thinking, solve a problem, and then define steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go solve the problem, right? So that's the traditional way we do programming. Write an algorithm that is going to be a very well-defined set of steps that's going to be solving a problem. Any person is going to benefit from that. And in Dhruv's case, we were thinking that many times when he solves a problem, or any of us solve a problem, without that framework or structured thinking in place, we end up missing certain steps. So with this course or any computer science course, you are able to convert a solution into a set of problem solving steps and then pass it on to a computer, right? That problem solving itself is so very beneficial. The other thing I realize is, and maybe we can talk about it in another discussion, is how it helps science students, people with science and maths background, but also non-science students who come with a non-science or non-maths background. With respect to science, and that's true for anyone till the 10th standard, given the maths that is taught at school and the kind of problems that are given, they end up being very classroom kind of problems. When it comes to algebra, when it comes to probability, kids learn it, but the real place to go apply at least these two things ends up being data science, right? So when when Dhruv has learned certain things around probability, before he took this course and after taking this course, the conversations he has with us and even in the classroom at AKIA have ended up being very, very different. He appreciates how that topic is really applied. And with that clarity, his further understanding on this fundamental has improved significantly. I imagine the other part where we are talking about non-science students, possibly in higher grades, right? Their PUC or even beyond. Any day, they'll benefit from the ability to solve a problem in a very structured way and being able to then repeat that solution using a computer, for example. right? Those logical steps are so very important, and that's where I think both for science and non-science students, this is something extremely helpful, and it's a life skill to have. So maybe the person might not pick up machine learning as such, but knowing Python, for example, Python has hundreds, I should say thousands of libraries that exist. And if they're able to pick up something that is applicable in their domain itself, it could be financial domain, they are going to be highly successful and efficient in whatever work they do. In fact, we have been trying to do some things around financial use of AI in finance. And even if it is not AI in finance, just using some of the Python libraries that are available around financial things, it could be trading, it could be anything, is super, super useful. So I would highly recommend. It doesn't matter where they learn that from, because once we grow up and we are beyond our schooling age, we have various access to various methods of learning, but programming and especially learning Python is something that all of us should pick up on.
Great. So that's very encouraging to hear. And so I would like to know, being data scientists yourself, like I believe you both, husband and wife, are part of data science team in Bangalore in IBM. What do you think is uh, would be right for technology people, oblique non-technology people, to consider for choosing such a program? You being data scientist yourself going for this program versus non-tech people going for such a program.
Well, so just to clarify, I'm more on the leadership, the delivery leadership side of things. I lead a team of data scientists and data engineers. There's a slight distinction between them, but for all of us, it doesn't really matter. So, while my understanding of data science and data engineering is reasonable, I'm not as much of hands-on. My wife is a full-time data scientist, yes, and she works on a lot of research in that space as well. To answer your question on what should people or parents who come with data science background look at versus parents who don't have that background, I think the key things that you are looking for is a set of instructors or teachers who have depth in this space, who have the right credentials in this space. You'd prefer having someone who has, of course, teaching experience, because you need to know how to impart knowledge, but at the same time, a lot of hands-on experience in the subject. A person does not become a good teacher just by reading a book in machine learning and then repeating a static curriculum to the students, right? And that's where depth of understanding of the space is important. Look for a teacher or who understands that space, who's already a professional in that space. That is a key thing. So look for the credentials of the teacher. The content will follow. I mean, the teacher, given the credentials, has developed that credentials over years, and it's come because of the good work that the person has done. So look for the teacher being the right person, and then everything else will fall in place. The second is the openness of the teacher and the organization that he or she is a part of, to trying out new things and evolving, right? The big challenge I see is there is a specialized group of content preparators, and the teacher ends up taking that content and delivering that content. We are looking for 360-degree feedback on a very short time scale. It cannot be refreshed every 6 months. But if the teacher is able to take some content, pick it up, deliver, and realize that when the next class happens, maybe I should deliver it this way, that is an amazing 360-degree learning cycle. And I would support any teacher who's been enabled to do that. So any curriculum and any teacher where they interwork and evolve the content fast enough is what I'd look for. And that's where a startup organization like you was what we picked up, because we felt you had the right agility to be able to adapt to a set of students' needs, as well as with respect to the curriculum itself that you can evolve. And through our conversations over the last 6 months, I understand that there's a lot of pain and hard work that has gone into preparing the content and keeping it uh, to the needs of different age groups. And that's what any parent should look for. Look for the credentials, and then look for the way the programs are getting executed, right? And whether it's evolving, whether whether children are able to interact a lot between themselves. It should not be a YouTube video.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of us end up watching YouTube videos for anything. It runs very well for grown-ups. It does not work well for kids, because when a child has a problem or a question in mind, he should raise his hands, ask that question, get that clarified. Other children should possibly also step in and try and put in their perspectives and together build a viewpoint on a subject. And that exploration, that learning through interaction is extremely important. And that's what I see happening very well every time we snoop into some of the lectures that are happening. So it's a very good thing that you're doing. There's of course a lot of things that can be done even better, but your openness towards feedback is what we like the most. So
Great.
good work that you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So finally, I would like to ask you to, if you can rate us on a scale of 1 to 10, and if there are any other
Hmm.
parameters, what you have already given quite a lot, but if you would like to tell us parameters on why and how you are rating us on that, whatever you are rating at.
I'll have to think about this, but the first thing that when you say rate us, the first thing that comes to my mind is net promoter score, right? I, as a delivery leader, my whole team gets rated by my. We are into IT services delivery, and my client rates us. A lot of them rate us every year, and I'm very familiar with that methodology. So I'll possibly use the same way to rate you guys if you're okay.
Sure.
So the scale goes like this for those of us, who've not been initiated into NPS. 1 to 7 is something that you don't want to be rated as. Okay, that means I'm not going to promote you. I actually dislike things to a level where I will not promote you to others. 9 and above is a clear you're a promoter. I would possibly rate you somewhere close to 9, between 8.5 and 9, because my expectations on you and this program is very high, right? So possibly a 9, which is possibly the reason why I'm in this video talking to you right now, right? I know that you're making this recording for sharing with some other people, and I'm open to saying that what you've done so far is some excellent work that has happened, and you're very open to feedback and evolving to score yourself even higher. So a 9 out of 10 is what I'd give you, going by NPS standards. With respect to your question on what are the things that could be done even more, I can be very demanding, so I can put forward a big laundry list. But just to be
Sure.
fair to you and your organization, all right, what you guys have done is very good. I really love the peer interaction that you people are able to drive. Okay. I also really liked that you're trying to do end-to-end solutions. It's not like you're just talking machine learning and teaching machine learning, because this course is about machine learning, right? I recall hearing a conversation where my son Dhruv mentioned that we are now learning how to do web development and using certain frameworks. I forget, I don't recall the name of the framework, but you are using some lightweight frameworks for web development so that whatever you do and generate as models can be used with a front end, and anyone can access and play around with it. That's the end-to-end thinking that we need to drive in kids, and I really liked seeing how you guys were doing it. I'm looking forward to possibly showing kids. I know we are going through COVID period, so it'll have to be a virtual setup, but showing kids the real application of machine learning through some of the other alliances that you have, right? You have several experts in the space. Kids can possibly have a Q&A session and look at real world things that have been done using machine learning and how it's been applied. And that learning and interaction will possibly help them prepare for a world they're going to be seeing 10 years down the line when they come into the professional space. where interactions are fluid, where you go to wherever to get that information, but finally deliver a minimum valuable product that the client requires. And both you and Vivek, coming from the background that you do, I'm sure you're more than equipped to be able to deliver that kind of a learning experience. So what you guys are doing is excellent again. There's a lot, of course, that can be done, but with your credentials, I'm confident that you are going to be delivering even more enhancements to the program that you're running right
Great.
now.
Thanks a lot.
Does that give you?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. So thank you for your time, and look forward to serving you better, as well as trying to apply some of your suggestions that you have given. We'll try our best to make you delighted in future as well. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vishal. Thank you. Catch you. Bye-bye.
Bye.